What's up everyone, this is Nox and welcome to part 4 for the Zero to Hero Kinetic Blast Trickster. We made a couple of upgrades to the character, not a huge amount, but we are up to 1800 and even when we are using our synth belt, and we are at a little bit over 1500 intelligence when we were using Headhunter. So pretty big gain so far. We've gained about double damage, but a lot of that was from the Merc. So let's go over the upgrades that we've made. So the main one for our actual character was just getting these gloves. I actually bought these with the 35% converted to cold, the int, and the attack speed. Crafted on the old attributes and threw some implicits on it. So this was quite a steal. You can pick up gloves like this, Warlock gloves that have decent implicits for, or I'm sorry, decent suffixes for a couple of divines. I picked this one up for about a div. Again, there's going to be some links in the description below to sort of a shopping list if you want to find something like this. You could also craft these yourself. You just roll some suffixes and then use a Veiled Chaos Orb, suffix not be changed, and then Veiled Chaos Orb to hopefully get the conversion. We don't care what it's converted to. Lightning would be best, but these were cheap for cold, so, and I'm actually fine with cold because I like chilling and freezing. It's a nice little defensive layer. The rest of our upgrades for our character itself are going to be on the passive tree. So we did pick up an Emperor's Wit. This was 8 divines. And, you know, 5% increased intelligence, a little bit of increased crit chance. Pretty solid. We did change around the pathing just a little bit to make it more efficient. And we picked up another cluster jewel here. This one is 8 intelligence per point and 3% increased attack speed. I have this on a increased attack damage while holding a shield. You could do attack damage with wands as well. That works, but this was just cheaper. So again, 12 passive. You want int and increased attack speed. The increased damage is fine. It does barely anything. We have so much on the build. You could go for 25 or 35% increased effect, but this cluster jewel was 8 divines, and the ones with 35% increased effect are 45 divines, and the damage difference is like, it's like a million DPS, so it's not, it isn't nothing, but it's not cost effective for this stage of the character. And then I am messing around with some split personalities here. This is something that I would recommend you not copy. So you can get them if you want, but you'll notice my pathing pretty short to path to here. And it's the same pathing, same distance over here as well. So I would change this pathing a little bit if I was to really min-max these split personalities. So far, they're okay. I'm actually using this one for Dex because we changed our attributes mastery here from the 5% increased attributes to 5 intelligence per allocated mastery. So this actually gave me like 40 more int than the 5% increased attributes, but it messed around with my dex requirements, so that's why we have this dex one here. These are about 20 C each for these ones right here. This one's 20 chaos, and then the int and evasion is like 10 chaos. They're basically worthless, so you can pick them up if you want. The good ones that we would want would be 5 to int and plus to maximum energy shield. That would be good. But again, I think I'm going to mess around with the pathing here to make a little bit better use of them. Maybe come up this left side and then path all the way down and throw the split personalities down where our Storm Shroud is instead. I did drop the spell suppression wheel and I picked up the crit mastery and the accuracy mastery over here. I did drop this third wand mastery for the intelligence is added to accuracy with wands, and picked up the accuracy mastery instead. And then you'll notice that I'm using the caster mastery. That is because we are doing some abyss. I've farmed a ton of currency with abyss, mostly farming maps. It's been absolutely insane the amount of maps that drop in T17s doing abyss. And I don't want to click chests, so I'm just going to showcase you guys a little bit of tech. You spec this mastery here, and then you bind automation to numlock. So mine's on numlock 7. This is fully within the TOS. It's part of the functionality of everyone's keyboard that has a numpad. It's just how numlock works. And then you need automation linked to something like detonate mines. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't reserve anything, and then when I press numlock and activate it, It's just pressing it constantly. So then when I stand next to a chest, it'll open it for me. Pretty cool tech. If you guys are interested in saving yourself some wrist pain, it's a good idea. I will say that whenever you rezone, you'll need to reactivate it. So I've just go to the Aspirants Plaza here. You'll notice that it's not activating over and over again. You reactivate numlock again, and you're good to go. And again, every time you rezone, you will have to do that. Again, I'm only using it for the Abyss maps. It's not that big of a deal. And with those points, you could swap them out for literally anything else. There's some lightning damage here for 4 points. You could come over here and grab this. Probably this one is probably the best one for the lightning pen. Or you could grab additional points on your cluster for more int. This is editing Nox from the future, and I completely forgot to discuss the mercenary upgrades that we made. So we did pick up a Doriani's prototype. We talked about the rest of the Merc Gear in the previous video. We did pick up a Doriani's prototype, and we have these 2 rings with minus lightning res. My current minus lightning res here is only 91%. To get that higher, you could spend a little bit more on rings. These are only like maybe a divine a piece, maybe a little bit less. These are pretty crappy rings. But if you wanted to like really min-max this or whatever, you would make something like this, and you can do it yourself. You basically just roll. You buy a Cogwork ring for a single divine. You roll until you get lightning res at T1. You resistance quality it up, and then you throw a reflecting mist on it. I hit this my first try. This is the ring that I was using on the armor stacker Merc. I'm obviously not using it here because these are pretty expensive now. Reflecting mist are like 40 divines or something like that. So didn't really want to go that far for this, because while this adds a little bit of damage, I didn't really feel like I needed the damage on this character just yet. But I just wanted to talk about that in case you wanted to take it a little bit further. You can just make something like this yourself. As far as next upgrades for the character, I haven't really decided. Like I said, we farmed a ton of currency. If you guys saw my post on YouTube, I did end up getting a mirror shard from one of the shipments. This was after like one of the first liquidations and after purchasing the upgrades that I've mentioned. So we have quite a bit of chaos in here. If I open up my Wealthy Exile, so in these 4 tabs, I have 139 divines-ish. The filtered stuff, the stuff that I don't count as 1C or whatever, is 136 divines. So we have quite a bit of currency to spend. I'm just not really sure where I want to take it next. I feel like I could just, farm a little bit more, grab a mage blood, and then we could change some things around. But I kind of like using the instacking belt when I'm not using the headhunter. Let me know in the comments below what you think I should do. I haven't really decided. It's either we grab a mage blood or we farm a little bit more than that, pick up like a Bound by Destiny and a influenced goal and an influenced second ring, and get 15% more int that way. Haven't really quite decided. This is one of those weird times where I'm like really happy with how the character's performing, and it feels like getting upgrades are just for the sake of getting upgrades at this point, which isn't bad. That's kind of like the point of a 0 to hero, but it is cool to, just have a character work, and this can work and farm, and it's farming T17s with double risks, and I'm having a great time with it. So talking about the Abyss strat really quick, we are using 2 Cartography Scarab of Risk. These are, how much are they right now? 17C a piece. We are using 1 Influencing Scarab of Conversion. We are using 1 Abyss Scarab of Edifice and 1 Cartography Scarab of Escalation. I essentially grab any T17. I don't really care because I'm not doing the boss. And I roll it for more maps. So I just grab this. I click a couple times until it says more maps. 50% is kind of like on the low end. I really like to get it at least 100%. And also, I'm rolling over these things like 150% increased currency and stuff. You could sell those for more. So something like this, you run this with, 100% more maps, and you just run the Abyss. It's super comfy cozy. That was all the footage that you're kind of seeing in the background right now. And you're just blasting, tons of maps drop, and that is where a ton of currency is coming from. I will say the downside to this strategy is that you will need to sell maps, and you will need to sell them in bulk. on like a place like TFT or Exile Exchange or whatever. If you don't like selling maps in bulk, you could also, on like a Discord, you could also post them for a certain amount, and hopefully somebody picks them up from the trade site. But I find that listing them on TFT is very quick and efficient. And then additionally, you have stuff like these originator maps. So these go for about half a divine to 3/4 of a divine a piece, basically. Just uncorrupted jungle valleys are basically 0.6 divines every single time. That's TFT pricing, but you can do whatever. And these other maps as well, stuff like Lighthouse and Canyon. There's some strats out there that are popular with both of those maps. So you can sell these for a pretty significant amount, and these are not factored into the wealthy exile number that we were checking out before. So they're not factored into this 136 divines. Just something you should be looking out for when you are farming. So that is pretty much it for this update here. Not too many changes, but some pretty significant ones. I mean, we gained 300 int in both sets, so that's pretty solid. Or I'm sorry, for both belts. That's pretty solid. Let me know in the comments below where you guys think I should take the character. Do you want me to go to a Mage Blood, or do you want me to just stick with Headhunter, grab another cluster jewel, and call it good? And maybe, you know, pick up a really expensive Bound by Destiny jewel. Let me know in the comments below, because I'm having trouble deciding. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.